I'm doing a special program right now with my wife, and it's always fun when I have my wife in the studio. And we're talking about this valuable subject of relationships, but especially for the parents and the grandparents, and the legacy of how you're transmitting your faith from one generation to another. And as we're going to that subject, I realized, a lot of what I'm covering is all really in the material which we call Becoming Unstoppable. There are insights, about 5 insights that I've found in 40 years are critical to being able to discern the personality of your children, your grandchildren, your spouse, and yourself. Questions about understanding the pattern of your personal history, literally charting that course, understanding the trends as to where convergence is. Where's the calling of God now in the next season of your life? What is your personality driver? This is a primary and secondary motivation that drives you, a fresh insight into looking at the patterns that are running your life, your spouse's life, your children's life, your grandchildren's life. I want you to really become a PhD when it comes to understanding the psychology of human nature and the patterns that shape destiny. Because the Bible is prolific on these subjects, and you can have it right now. Go to lancewallnau.com/unstoppable. Use the product code podcast, and you get $30 off. This is probably, for a teacher, a preacher, a consultant, a coach, a podcaster, this is a treasure trove of content. It literally is the best level 10 living material that I've discovered in 40 years of researching the best people on the subject. Remember that again, lancewallnau.com/unstoppable. Use code podcast, get $30 off. You can get it digitally, you can get it physically, and it'll change your life. If not, I got a money-back guarantee. Within a week or two, I'll return your money if you don't think it's rocking your socks. But you got to go through the material, look at it, and see what it does. See you in the broadcast. Okay, it's the Lance Wallnau Show, and my special guest today, which is always a delight and a risk, because my wife is on with me, and that could mean, well, I'm just saying, Annabelle's known for saying whatever is in the moment she wants to say, and then that sometimes throws me off. But we've been together for 40 years.
Still throwing you off.
Still throwing me off. Still throwing me off. And she's laughing. We got one of those marriages where I entertain her unintentionally. She's laughing. The other night she told me to move a carpet.
Lance, it was way before that. First, you had to move the chair and the table.
Yeah, we had some things I had to move.
He crashes into the wall.
I'm crashing into the door. I'm upset about it. She's laughing because I'm obviously not a furniture mover.
But it was the way he did Dr. Bash. Boom.
And then the carpet.
Boom.
Now, I didn't know that underneath a lot of carpets, there's a carpet mat underneath.
Yeah.
So she goes, would you please move the carpet in the bathroom over? And so I picked up the carpet and moved it, and underneath is a whole unmoved section. I didn't know there was 2 parts to the carpet. So,
because the way he picked it up, he kind of threw the whole thing. It's a pretty heavy
husband
carpet.
style, just get it out of the way, and she's laughing because I was not doing it right. Anyway, let's talk about parenting, which is a important subject. You have a thought already? You're inhaling.
No, I think it's fun. It's fun to keep fun in parenting, just like keep fun in 41 years of marriage. It's got to stay.
Yeah.
Remember, Joseph Garlington said, if it's funny now, it was funny then.
Yeah, but it'll be funny now, it'll be funny later. You have to remember that. No, if it's fun, something like that. If it's funny now, it'll be funny.
But you got to keep it light, That's what this whole program is about. You can't keep it too heavy.
Yes. Well, for those of you that are concerned that I'm getting too intense, I had someone say to me, Lance, you're so intense. I'm all right, so I'm not intense.
So it's your staff.
My staff. Oh, my whole feedback loop comes down to a mother and a husband, maybe two staff members that go, you're getting so intense. So let's talk about the collapse of the American family. No, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about this verse here. It says in 2 Timothy chapter 1, the Apostle Paul has this unique relationship with his beloved son, Timothy, he refers to him. What a beautiful thing to have Paul as your mentor. And he says, I greatly desire to see you, being mindful of your tears, that I may be filled with joy. Verse 5, when I call to remembrance the genuine faith that is in you, which dwelt first in your grandmother, Lois, and your mother, Eunice, and I am persuaded is in you also. Therefore, I remind you to stir up the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. Now, this is an interesting sequence. Paul is a spiritual father. So there's a lot of young people out there that I believe, because there's so much divorce and so many broken homes. And so that one thing I want to throw out there is there's an opportunity for many men to look at young men who would benefit by having a spiritual father there, and we'll talk about that. What does a spiritual father do that provides the missing piece that God the Father, through you, can deposit in particularly young men, and certainly young women also. But I think there's something here with Timothy that I want you to catch. There was a faith that was genuine in his grandmother, who transmitted it to her daughter, who transmitted it to her son. The father isn't mentioned here, but the mother is. So there's this legacy that you can pass on. When you get to our age, it goes from parenting to grandparenting, and we got both, the joy of both. We've got kids that are still, well, listen, they're married, and having families of their own. So our relationship changes with them, but then the grandkids come along, and that's a whole different relationship. But I want to point out, Paul says, and I remind you to stir up the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. Paul gave a spiritual heritage to this adopted son. And I think that there's something about transmitting faith from generation to generation, and that the role of the parents is something I want to talk about with you, because for this 40 years of doing this, there's some verses that make me think about that. First of all, the Bible says in Psalm 127, verses 3 through 5, children are a heritage from the Lord, not a burden, not a problem, but an inheritance, a heritage, and like arrows in the hands of a warrior. And that idea of children being like arrows is interesting, because you raise them up and then you launch them on purpose into doing what they're called to do. And I think that there's something about, and we should maybe look at doing this more, there's something about carrying on the legacy of lessons learned from one generation to the other, because what you really have as an inheritance for your children's children is the stories of what God did. Don't you think that's true?
Yeah, but how would you do it? What are you thinking?
Well, I think that there comes a point where everyone who's journeyed with God needs to make sure that, like when Joshua crossed over with the children of Israel into the promised land, the waters parted. He said, hold it right there so that the next generation knows the story. Let's put a memorial right here of 12 big stones right there in the middle of the river. That, as the river goes up and down, that structure will always be there as a memorial to the next generation. Oh. So you start thinking about the stories of God's intervention, answered prayer, when the Lord showed up, when provision was made, so that you carry that legacy to them. Otherwise, you lose the memorial of what God did. One of the major things I'm telling you folks out there is transmit. Make sure you start transmitting to your children and your grandchildren the stories of what God has done and when he did it. Because I think that's what builds faith to be transferred from it's stories that transfers faith from one generation to another.
I just started laughing because Jamie Lynn was walking out of the house with me the other day, and she said, I love this fountain that you guys have. I've never seen it on. Didn't you get that when we got married? I said, yes. But there's no way to bring water out here. We just like it. So that's an example.
Yeah, we got a fountain, but we never hooked it up. There's no water supply, but it's a beautiful looking fountain.
It is.
And when it rains, it looks like it's a fountain.
And there's a lot of birds. But the thing is, it's like, we got that for the wedding. I mean, it is pretty fun.
No, worse yet, I remember when you told me it was crooked, and I went out and moved. You said, don't do it by yourself. And I said, no, I can do it. And it's the first time I actually felt the disc slip. It was like, right before the wedding. Lesson to me right there. And your wife tells you to, listen to your wife.
You and Susan Smallwood were installing it. Look, it wasn't up to me. I wasn't involved.
I'm just telling you, it almost put me out of commission, that moving that thing. So, but let's talk about this for a second.
There's stories.
You work with children at the Y, and that You're having real hands-on experience. And what are you doing with those kids and art that is creating for them a window into a different world?
We're talking about different words that we're capturing from the Bible and scriptures. So this week was on courage, and we were asking them, be strong and the Lord your God is with you. The absence of fear and the fullness of courage and being brave, and went around the room and asked.
How old are these kids?
There's two groups of. This week is 6 to 8 and 9 to 11, and then next week it'll be 11 to 13 and 13 to 17. And we're doing it differently than we were originally, but we're just going to concentrate in a row. And the thing that's happening is a lot of the kids, the really young kids, are way open. They're so fast at it. They really don't have filters they're working through. And we can see a very easy pathway of influence into their hearts and minds. The next age group is a little more clogged up in their thoughts about everything and measuring and wondering if they're saying the right thing. So what we're doing is having them make a picture. After they get the words, they get the scripture, we discuss what does it mean. What makes you feel brave? Well, somebody said, my family makes me feel brave. Somebody said, my mom makes me feel brave, or my dad. But that was just the only 3 things that had to do with the family. Some of the other one was their superhero. They drew their Batman and their superhero Spider-Man and everybody. But then there was, my garden keeps me brave. My porch, I'm like, your porch makes you feel brave? Why? You're sitting on your porch and you're safe because you're watching from your porch? Yeah. So sometimes we fill in the blanks with them to understand where they're coming from. But then they do a picture, which I'm trying to get permission to be able to show the world what these kids are doing, because you have to get permission. But really, it's insightful to see how they think, because we're putting new neuropaths to enter in with scripture and morals and values. We got a slow path in, but once we're in, because they want to be in our class, they want to come. They love art,
How beautiful. The art opens them up. And just, this is an unstructured conversation here, but
we've left the notes, people.
What it reminds me, I have notes, I'm not using them. What reminds me of this is when we pastored years ago, it was
lifetime ago.
I can remember we had a course that was so spectacular, which was Growing Kids God's Way. Mm-hmm. And if moms and dads get that curriculum, you want to grab it, because it was quite amazing, and we learned a lot, and we practiced a lot. Made me want
to get it again, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me want to go back, and maybe we should go grab it and talk about it here. But one of the things, we learned stuff. So, for instance, honoring your wife in the family structure, there was this tremendous psychological, spiritual truth about if the child thinks that they're in charge of the house, they develop what we have today, which is, I think, an epidemic. You talk about, I don't want to be knocking a whole generation, but we have a societal challenge where if kids are raised to think that they're the center of the universe, they don't realize they're actually not. And the way that you train a child to be nurtured and loved, and yet have realism about their role in relationship to other people, is to not make the child the object of everybody's, trying to make them happy. The father has to show that he honors the wife over the children, meaning that there is a hierarchy in the house, and that mommy is important to me, because that creates in their sense that there is an order in the universe and that it's not all about them. So, for instance, I listened to a doctor who said, when children get screaming and yelling, they go, I can't believe I'm out of time here. I got 5 seconds. I want to tell you a story about the doctor, what the doctor taught me about disciplining kids. We'll be right back.
You don't have a discipline problem. You don't have a motivation problem. You have a problem nobody has ever actually taught you how to solve. Every book, every seminar, every New Year's resolution told you to change who you are. That was never going to work. And somewhere deep down, you already knew it.
So what are we talking about? We're talking about learning how to manage the way you are, not change who you are. Destiny is about managing who you are, not changing who you are. The reason why I said some of you need to shout and sing and laugh is because we're not getting enough of who you are.
Somewhere in you is a version of yourself that doesn't hesitate, that doesn't quit 2 weeks before the breakthrough. Once you know how to manage who you actually are, you stop negotiating with yourself Every morning, you just move. Becoming unstoppable. Go to lancewallnow.com/unstoppable.
All right, we're right back here. I was in the middle of a thought, and I looked up, thank God, and saw my blinking, timekeeping here.
Lance, watch the mouth.
I mean, blinking. It's blinking like this. I'm not looking for a substitute cuss word. It's blinking. Anyway, so I'm back with the blinking clock now. And so the doctor says the kid's screaming because she's like, doesn't want to go into the doctor's office for the exam. So the doctor tells the wife, listen, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to tell you where to sit. And then you sit where I tell you to sit, and your child will see that I'm the one that's in charge here. And then that'll put an effect on his screaming because he thinks he can scream his way into getting you to do what he wants. He's afraid of me. He said, I got kids all the time in this waiting room. So he comes out, he tells the mom, okay, Mrs. Wallnau, sit over here, and this is your son. Okay, sit there. I'll be here in a minute. He goes out. And mom moves over there where she's supposed to sit. The kid moves over with her, and then he comes out and says, okay, let's go in. The order was set once the authority was established, and the child recognizes, there's a hierarchy here, and I'm not controlling the hierarchy.
Well, there's a big difference today of the percentage of kids who don't have a mom and a dad in the home.
Yeah, so once again, it comes down to really important that there's an understanding that the child isn't the center of the family, but that the mom and the dad are the ones that are the center of the family and that they're taking care of the child, who they automatically take care of. But what I'm trying to say is, and this is, I can realize I feel the resistance all over the atmosphere, is that if children grow up thinking the universe revolves around them, they develop an unhealthy entitlement mentality that doesn't serve them well when they have to work with other people because they think everything's there for them. Wow. And so the overindulgent parent can create the spoiled child who is culturally incapable of handling stress because they need a safe space, because they've been protected from stress. Jordan Peterson put it this way. He said, you can either have your children be strong or safe, but it's impossible to have them always safe and have them strong. They have to be exposed to a certain amount of challenge and risk and growth and feedback for them to become strong. And, my dad's remedy for that was sending me to a military school to compensate for a childhood of safe. He said, I think when you're 15, I'm going to send you off to an all-male Paris Island. That'll sort you out. Boom, 3 years of military. Anyway, I hated it, and it was actually very helpful. But I'm coming back to this point, Annabelle, which is we learn that children interrupt their parents. And we have it all the time. Kids are coming up, mommy, you're talking to an adult, and the kid goes, I want this, can I go over here? And this is what I'm talking about, how to create structure in the child's life. And we did this, and we learned it from these godly teachers.
Put your hand up.
They said, tell your child that when they have a question, a need, something they want, and you as an adult are talking to someone, they come up and touch your hand. And then you look down and acknowledge them. Okay, I got you. And just touch them back, and then go back to your conversation and exit the conversation and say, what do you want? In other words, the child doesn't interrupt you. The child lets you know they have a need. And you teach them how to, gotcha, honey. And then you go ahead, let me just take a second and find out what Billy wants. Billy, what do you need? And then, I want to go over there. So, but I'm telling you, these little structures mean a lot, don't they?
Can I make an appeal? How about that one?
Yeah. What's that one? We learned that one too, and it's very powerful.
Well, because a lot of times the kids don't like you to say no. They just don't like it. Lance Jr. used to say, I can't like it. But there was this opportunity to learn about how to make an appeal, a godly appeal. So they might not right away fight back. They may pause after you say no, think about it for a minute, how they're going to position their request, and they're going to say, can I make an appeal? But they've used it so many times. Can you think of?
Well, here's the logic, and basically it's a biblical concept. Once again, establish the fact that the mom is the one that the father is interested in making sure mom's safe, protected, and nurtured. That creates a safe environment for the children. oddly enough, pushing the mom aside and dealing with the children or caring about the children doesn't create the stability of a hierarchy that they need to feel secure. There's a reason why young men are going to the Catholic Church in droves right now as opposed to Protestant churches, because the Catholic Church implies structure, order, hierarchy. And in a weird way, it appeals to that yearning for structure, order, and hierarchy that is in young men that they don't have in culture. It's too crazy. But over here, there's a structure. It's historic. It's got order and hierarchy. So children yearn for that, even though they might rebel against it. Your child, you need to go to bed. Do your homework. Turn the TV off. It used to be TV in our day, and streaming services, and it's your phone, right, computer right now. But what we were taught that helped us was it's a principle from Daniel, which is when Daniel was told that he had to eat all this Babylonian crappy food in order to be tested by Nebuchadnezzar, he made an appeal. And the appeal was to the Babylonian in charge of all the kids. He said, basically, may I make an appeal? We are Hebrews, and we have a different diet. Test your servants for 10 days. Let us eat what we eat. And if at the end of 10 days we don't look healthier and stronger than these other kids, then we'll submit to what you want us to do. But if we do, then allow us to observe our faith. He made the appeal. He didn't say, well, I'm not going to eat your garbage because I'm a Hebrew. And then, he fails his destiny right then. So he made the appeal so that, here's the key, think about the objective that the other person has for what they're trying to accomplish and position your request. This is the part I had a problem with my boys getting to understand. Position your request in such a way that it addresses what I want you to do. So if I want you to do well in school and get your homework done and turn off the computer, then you could say, may I make an appeal? I understand that you want me to get my homework done and you want me to go to bed on time. If I could watch this, it's almost over, for 30 more minutes, then I will be able to still get that homework done and get to bed on time. But I would really love to be able to watch this one segment because we talk about this with my friends at school tomorrow. It's like, all right. That was the appeal made in the context of what Daddy wants from them.
See?
And they learned that. And they learned it almost too well.
Yeah.
Because I'll never forget, we went to... I'll tell the story about when we go to Cape May, we go to a hotel, and the pool's closed and closing down. And what do my kids do?
Go, you tell it. You have these details in a good memory.
I'm unpacking the car as usual, and I'm schlepping the luggage up. And the kids, can we go swimming? Can we go swimming? I think the pool's closed. The pool closes at 6 o'clock. We just got there at like 6, and so and then they go downstairs to the pool, and they got They go down and talk to the guy who's locking the door on it. And they go, may I make an appeal? The guy goes, what? He's talking to two kids. They go, young we want to make an appeal. We just drove all the way from Rhode Island and came down here. And we tried to get here earlier. And we really just wanted to come in for a couple of minutes in the pool. And just so we could get in the pool before we have to get out. The guy goes, I never had kids do that before. You got rascals, you got juveniles, you got kids cussing at you. You got to kick them out. I don't know what to tell you. He said he made an appeal. He looks at me and goes, am I negotiating something here? I go, it'll just be a few minutes, I think. And then he goes, all right, well, I got to straighten up the pool area anyway. I'll give you a couple of minutes in there. Anyway, they made the appeal. And they did this a lot.
They did a lot. They
because
got really
it
good
worked.
at it.
Because the language, may I make an appeal? I had to remind
They're very
them.
empowered.
The appeal, the second part they never got down quite as strong is, think about what their goal is. Their goal is they have to clean this up, shut this down because of safety rules. And so you're going to observe the safety rules and make sure it's shut down. You just need a minute to dump in. That I teach them on get the other parts, the other person's goals in your head. But these are parenting tips, man. Like, how much better than, I don't want to go in, and say, how come? We can't go in the pool. It taught them how to negotiate.
Yeah, it was better than yelling and screaming and kicking and crybaby. We got fatigued with all that after a while. We're like, we have to learn some new skills, right, Lance?
We learned those new skills. Listen, I got 2 minutes and 41 seconds. I want to talk about the power of spoken blessing. Proverbs 18:21 is the verse I got here. You guys got Bibles at home? You watching this on TV? I don't know if this is on War Room. 18. We're going to go to Proverbs 18:21. Oh, here we go. Here we are. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. What it's talking about is the words you speak to those impressionable young minds. Well, how sad it is when you got parents that curse their own children because they're, you're stupid, you can't do anything, you're just like your old man. It's sad to think of how little vulnerable children get hurt by it. It creates, I guess, that must be our calling especially, because I feel a special empathy for children that are starving for words of affirmation. But we would practice on birthdays the affirmation bombardment, which is, I think we even had a special plate we would use at times.
You are special.
And it was the "You Are Special" plate. Got it from like Home Depot. No, from
Weir's Furniture.
Hobby Lobby or Weir's Furniture.
That time, yeah.
You are special. And you give that to, it's a red plate, and that person is the special person at that meal. But on birthdays, we would practice the affirmation.
I cherish, I admire.
And the key is, you'd start with a word stem, like the thing that I admire most about you, the thing that I cherish the most about you, the thing that I enjoy the most about you. The problem with people giving each other positive complimentary feedback is that we're not used to it. Everyone's in need of it, but not everybody's getting it. So we would practice, and I teach people, my kids, to do this. You know what I value most about you? And then pick 2 or 3 characteristics that you observe in them. The way that you light up a room when you're there, your sense of humor, the fact that I always feel like you're always listening when I have something to say. That's what I appreciate most about you. And it's amazing, if they're done right, those emotional deposits become like vitamins that go into the soul of
Impartation.
An impartation, if you will.
But I didn't mean to interrupt you and say compliment, because that's an affirmation. A compliment may be external, where that affirmation is very internal, right?
Yeah, compliment. Well, you look nice today. Well, thank you.
That's a compliment.
That's a compliment. But that, you change the atmosphere every time you show up. I'm glad you're here. That's an affirmation.
There you go.
Different voltage, people. Look, I'm going to continue on. If you don't mind, I'm going to hold you over for another show, Annabelle.
Yeah, I think
we hardly got
sometime.
into all this yet, and we'll see you again on the next episode. And you and I are going to hang out and record some more.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for inviting me.
Okay, we'll be back tomorrow. God bless.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you